In a world where the truth is under attack, where journalists are expected to follow the script, one woman refuses to play by the rules. She's investigated war zones, uncovered corruption, and taken on the most powerful forces on the planet. And somehow she still hasn't been canceled. But they tried. Oh, hell yeah, they tried. And now she's back, bolder, louder, and more rogue than ever. This isn't just journalism. This is Going Rogue with Lara Logan. Buckle up, folks. It's about to get real.
Welcome back to the Rogue Roundtable, Going Rogue with Lara Logan and Luke Coffey, my wonderful co-host.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, I want to just say a quick word. What's been bugging me this week is this: accountability. So this is a difficult subject. You know, people have been encouraged that has been a lot of momentum in the new administration. I know some people didn't vote for Donald Trump, and they apparently don't want to see fraud, waste, and abuse stopped in the government for some.
It's the strangest thing.
I don't know.
Hey, you don't want to stop the bank robber, right? Hey, let him rob the bank. Huh?
Apparently,
don't call him out.
Some people hate Donald Trump so much that they don't care if he shows them that they were flushing their tax dollars down the toilet. They would rather you do that than have Elon Musk or Donald Trump be right about anything at all. But, okay, so there's been a lot of exposure. That's a great thing because we've learned things that we didn't know. We learned that dead people get Social Security and that babies, 9-month-old babies, get small business loans. You know, things that the average person really doesn't want to see happen. And if they could put aside their politics long enough to be honest, everyone would admit that. We all know that's fraud, waste, and abuse, and it's wrong. So that's a good thing. So what's the bad part about this? Well, you can expose this stuff all day long. And if there isn't any real accountability, you're just going to see the same thing happen over and over again. It'll shift from here to there. Maybe it goes down for a time and then it'll creep back up. You know, the people that were behind this, people will say you're always going to have corruption, you're always going to have evil, you're always going to have all of that, but you're not always going to have the chance to fix it. And so when you fix it, it's got to hold. It's really got to stay. And now people are starting to get kind of frustrated. Some people are wondering, are we being deceived? You can see this narrative coming in. Trump said he was this, he said he was that. You know, Liberation Day, Liberation Day was great, but would have been nice to see some arrests. It would have. But I'm always conscious of what I don't know. And so now it's a balance. You want to give people proper amount of time. Dan Bongino, new deputy to Kash Patel at the FBI, put out a tweet this week where he said, you know, don't think because you're not seeing things happen or you're not seeing what's happening that nothing is happening. And that's true and that's fair. But at the same time, here's what worries me the most right now. Building cases that are airtight and don't just get dismissed and fail is critical. So you can't just walk in and investigate people. But some of this stuff, you've had years. Now, I know you haven't had years inside these agencies, but it's been years since the whole Hunter Biden laptop nonsense was exposed. Russia collusion's even longer. There's been plenty of investigations. They know the truth at this point. Putting those cases together, sure, it needs to be meticulous and careful. But what I'm worried about is Wisconsin. You know, and I tell you why. People breathed a sigh of relief after the 2024 election because they thought, the issue of election fraud has gone away. Stolen elections. We overcame a stolen election. We don't know how much fraud there was down ballot. You know, Joe Hoft has a great report out that he just put out about 1 in 5 voters in Orange County either didn't exist or were non-citizens and so on, these phantom voters. That's not good. As long as you have the machines in place, as long as you have an inflated census that gives sanctuary states more representation in Congress than they actually legally should have, as long as you have all of these things, you do not have a free and fair system. So how many special elections will be stolen? What will happen in the midterms? How long do you have that majority? And by the way, Congress, you're starting to be a little disappointing again. Yeah. So TikTok, okay? I'll leave off the last word that I usually say. Anyone who knows me knows what I say, that TikTok. Okay? It rhymes. Yeah. TikTok. You don't have a lot of time. Do it right? Sure. But, one of these cowards is held accountable. And how many of them will crumble? I bet it's a lot. That's the word.
That's a good word. And, as someone that has been punished very quickly for my actions very quickly after January 6th, they came for me and...
yeah, they didn't take very long.
They didn't take long at all. So I think they can move fast if they want to. So,
you know who did take long, though, was the judge who took almost a year.
I'm grateful for that,
As it turns out.
As it turns out, the timing of that.
But it's still kind of incredible that in a bench trial, after it ended, before you actually got a verdict from the judge, was almost a year. 350
days, approximately.
Unbelievable. Okay, Look, what do we got today?
Well, speaking of accountability, we want to start. This is a good segue into the slow process of firing these bad apples. We found out that Dr. Fauci's wife, Christine Grady, just now has been removed from NIH.
Wasn't she at HHS, Health and Human Services, head of bioethics?
She was.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was moved. But it seems that they just move them to different departments instead of just firing them and kind of push them out gradually. What's your opinion on that?
Okay, so that is true. Okay. That she was moved to some random desk, right?
Well, she was eventually moved to Alaska, and this is
isn't she looking at? She's on some indigenous sort of task now.
Yes.
Okay, so we should know what that is. Well, you know what the issue is with that, Luke.
She's actually She's been reassigned from the National Institute of Health in Maryland to the regional offices of the Indian Health Services in Alaska, per NBC.
Indian Health Services. They sent her to Alaska.
Yeah, to Alaska.
That's great.
Sent her all the way
That's
up
like going to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Bye, baby. Okay. The thing about this woman is that it's not a personal thing like, Fauci's wife. Like, you have to be mean or vicious about his wife because he's a small, murderous little creature, right? No, it's because she was actually approving things, right? There was a conflict of interest ethically and professionally. And so her hands were dirty too. And so Christine Grady should be fired on her own merits. Even if she wasn't married to Fauci, there were things that she was involved in that led to this. But what we have seen is that, you have to have grounds to fire someone, right? And people have legal contracts, and there's lots and lots and lots of push inside the federal government. And there's lots of push outside the federal government in lawfare, where they're suing every time Donald Trump. I mean, look, he got rid of all those people those that were temporary employees, and then some judge told him, no, you got to hire them all back again. I mean, these people are like Teflon. You just can't fire them. So I think, I'm not saying it's the ultimate solution, but I do think that what we're seeing here is they're moving as carefully as they can to stay within the law, because otherwise, I mean, there's already how many lawsuits have been filed against almost every single action that they take. Someone is filing something. So probably the reason she was reassigned is to get her out of the way, send a message, and also avoid a costly, lengthy legal battle that would be, this tactic is just stalling them. It's putting the Trump administration on the defensive over and over and over again, and nobody wins on defense. That's a bad idea.
Right, and she was, she led the charge. Here's a video, let's watch this, of, what she, during the COVID, she was right there with Dr. Fauci.
Little Miss Mengele.
Yeah.
And in the end, if people decide not to get vaccinated, that in the end is their choice, even if they're a nurse. They may not be able to work in the facility that they've been working in, but they've made a choice on their own. The thing that makes me And in the end,
That's
if
the
people
clip.
decide not to get vaccinated,
Yeah, well, that's not so bad. Why'd we choose that clip?
Well, she's.
I mean, she is saying it's
She's
your
covering
choice.
her butt. Is
Well,
what
you
she's
should be
doing.
fired if you work in the nursing industry.
Well, she
You don't
didn't say
get-
that. She said you may not work.
You may
Shouldn't
not-
say.
well,
I mean,
that's-
you know how I am.
You're
Luke.
forced out.
You
No,
gotta-
you're forced out.
Well, people were forced, but she didn't say I'm forcing you out.
Yeah.
I think you should have chosen a different clip. What else you got?
I also have another one where they're complaining about being canceled themselves in our Fauci clip. Let's see. I just think, to me, accountability. Going back to that, you know, a lot of us, just speaking from the J6 community, and I don't want to be always a J6er, but this is still pretty fresh. That we're looking for accountability in general, and we're looking for that's not the one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about some of the, like, you know, this is, first of all, he's a small man, and
Oh, are you going to get personal
no, I'm
now?
not getting personal, but we remember.
Do not get personal.
I'm not, but you know, we.
Although Fauci said a lot of nasty personal things about me when I criticized him on air, so you know it's not like I owe him anything. But yeah, they did make
I think
him
we
into.
do owe Fauci.
I think we can be personal. I mean, he was telling us, you know, this is going back to 2020 when I started speaking out. You know, as working in the advertising world, I was seeing all the propaganda. But I'd put, you know, he originally said masks don't work, you know, and then
he changed it.
He's like, no, 3 masks, 4 masks,
5 masks. You can never have enough masks.
Never enough masks. And
yeah. He's a horrible little man.
you know, he looks like a rat.
Wait,
okay, let's be honest.
you know,
I will talk. I will be personal.
5 Times August. You know him? He's a great musician. He lives in Austin. I love Brad. He did a fabulous song about Fauci.
But he's Saint Fauci.
Fauci, the little man with all the snake oil salesmen.
Right, but then you have the other side that literally is celebrating him, turning him into Saint Fauci, right?
Yeah, well, the thing that gets me about Fauci is that he destroyed people. He helped to destroy families, economies, entire nations. He destroyed businesses. He was responsible for people dying. People died because of him. Yeah, there are women who miscarried because of him. I mean, women who lost their babies because these people lied, and he and his wife were basically working off each other. It's corrupt, and quite frankly, it's evil. So that's why for me, it's not like, yes, he's smaller than her, and you can poke fun at him for that.
He looks like a rat. I mean, that kind of.
Well,
he is a rat. He's a rat.
Hey, can I
think
play you
that's
guys?
unkind to
Can I
rats.
play you guys a song video that I made about Fauci?
Oh
being
wow!
a snake?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I made
This is
gosh.
Keith. This is Keith. I love Moby.
I got this got pulled really fast.
Dr. Fauci, what do you want?
Where's your face mask?
But I'm not sick, Dr. Fauci.
I have a present for you. It's time for your vaccine. And you don't want to die from a horrible disease, do you?
My mom says I have a better chance of dying from a snake bite.
Yeah, but all of your friends are gonna get it. Don't you want to get to play with them again?
My mom says the long-term safety studies won't be completed until 2023. And until then, she's not even considering it.
Don't you trust me, boy?
It's so true.
Fauci. Just Fauci.
That's Ty Fisher, by the way. That's his voice.
Close your mind and thrust in thee. Hold still, please. Wear your mask. And live in fear.
Live in fear.
Because a disease is always
Yeah.
It's brilliant, Keith. Let's trust Fauci.
So
That's
you just
my point. What this snake is still.
the snake lives.
The snake lives without
Yeah.
any punishment.
Yeah.
And-
Well, this is a big question because people have lost their jobs and been pushed out in their careers, might have ended, but they haven't. That's not real accountability when people died because of you. Young kids had developed myocarditis.
Yeah.
That's permanent heart damage.
Right.
I mean, there were people with allergic reactions who died. I mean, what they covered up was unbelievable. Damn it. I like that. That's so cute. Play.
Did you do the animation, Keith?
Pretty good, Keith.
Well, yeah, that's Disney animation.
This is when you had a lot of time on your hands, right?
Well, this came out in April of 21. Wait, yeah, something like this came out, pretty.
How did
right
this
in the
not
heat of
go
it.
viral, man?
Because it got pulled from
got
everything.
pulled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't you remember?
This
Of course, yeah.
This has been reposted since then. Now it's up,
Okay.
but it was It got traction on band.video.
No, it's hilarious. It's brilliant.
On band.video. But you put this, you obviously were home during lockdowns with time on your hands,
Yes.
right?
And he was making wild music, too, that was pretty incredible just by himself. Oh, Tyler Fisher did the voice.
He did a good
Great.
job.
He's great.
It sounded like
He does a
Fauci.
great Fauci.
Yeah, I found Tyler Fisher just on a Twitter, him doing his Fauci on Twitter.
Was that before
And
you
then I
blew up?
reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, can I hire you to do a voice for me?"
Oh, that's great. That was before
I'm sure
it got
I couldn't
bigger?
afford him now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it'll go viral now, Keith.
He's blown up. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a great Trump and he does Fauci and a lot of great.
He was a speaker at the Rescue the Republic. The
in
little
D.C.
guy
when we
with
did that event,
yeah.
that big event in D.C.
Okay.
for the election.
Yeah.
Okay, what you got, Luke? What's
Well,
next?
so I think we need to talk about, speaking of vaccines and poison, we have a great sponsor that has a detox.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Ascent Nutrition, right?
Ascent Nutrition.
I actually love Ascent Nutrition. I've been
There's a
taking
kind of a lemony one that you do, right?
the pine needle extract.
Okay.
Yeah, that has lemon flavor to it. Because you kind of think, what a pine needle is going to taste like? But it's an oil. It's a little dropper. And I know it has, is it shishimic acid? Is that what it's
Shikimic.
called? Shikimic. See, Keith knows. Keith,
Yeah.
you've been taking your pine needle extract?
I have been, yeah.
I see he's very good about that.
It's awesome. It's a detox. It helps you detox from the toxic soup that we all live in.
Yeah.
And
Also helps your lungs, right?
yep, it's good for your respiratory system
And immune system.
and your immune system. These are wonderful things that God gave us.
They're kind of picky, right? Because they don't have a huge lineup. Like some of these companies, you go on there and I get overwhelmed. I
Right.
feel like I need a degree to understand,
Yeah.
how to interpret my health.
It's like
Yes.
another language.
Yes, but theirs is pretty easy because they don't have an enormous amount of products because they go and source the real thing where they can. Yeah. So I've actually really felt different just taking the fulvic, humic, and fulvic acid, most of which I couldn't even pronounce, didn't know existed before we got involved with Ascent Nutrition and they started sponsoring us. But I really like the
But
company.
you sat down with
Lance Shuttler. Yes, that's
Shuttler.
right. Who explained a lot to me.
He did. So if
Yeah.
you've had a Fauci ouchie, you need to watch this.
Oh.
Yeah, and I would say we're about to put on our website. It'll be up by the time this episode is out. You can go and watch the whole interview that you did with him, which was great. In fact, he talks about the pine needle extract. If we want to, let's cut to that clip right now.
I love it.
I know this is a big one for you, pine needle extract.
Yes.
Why?
Back when the whole COVID situation was going on, like at the height of it back in 2021, there were some doctors who started talking about pine needle tea. And the pine needles, the reason why they were talking about that is because different compounds, but the main one, shikimic acid. So shikimic acid is what Tamiflu is. That's the main constituent. So shikimic acid, if you look it up on PubMed, it has antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal properties, and also antiplatelet and antithrombogenic. And so what that means is it can help support healthy blood flow and unsticking the blood and, support that detoxification process and things along those lines. Another thing with the pine needle extract is that, we know how intentional this whole system has been to suppress our health and suppress the functioning of the human body, again, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's not coincidental, very intentional in my view, and I think a lot of other people believe this too. Glyphosate targets something called the P53 gene, and the P53 gene is known as the guardian of the genome, and this function of this gene is to really help to make sure that cells that might become cancerous don't become cancerous and don't proliferate and grow and become, oversize and form a tumor. That's P53's main role. And again, you can find this on PubMed. It is the most studied gene in the human genome, P53. 70,000 plus different studies, very well known. Glyphosate targets P53 and other genes for sure, but it very much targets P53, and this is very well known.
It does what to it?
It suppresses the function of it, and it can turn off the function of it. Either lower the function or turn it off completely, depending on the person and their physiology and all sorts of other factors. So shikimic acid, it's formed in a process called the shikimate pathway or shikimic acid pathway. And glyphosate stops that 7-step process. It's like the 5th step in that process. It stops it. So shikimic acid can't get formed. And so then this indirectly hurts us. So shikimic acid, if you can get it in the diet, can help to support the gut, support the healthy microbes in the gut and in the body, and does all the things that we talked about, helps support cleansing the blood and optimizing the function of some of these different genes.
Why would anyone ever consider, we think of vaccines as like we inject every child, or, now all of a sudden, oh no, there must be an area of research here.
Right. So that's when we started looking into aerosolized vaccines.
So, Luke?
So yeah, that leads us, Fauci leads us into more vaccines are still happening without us knowing, right? So there's been rumors of there could be vaccines through mosquitoes and the meat, but now we're seeing evidence that there's aerial vaccine dispersals happening.
Yeah, it's like, come on, are you serious? Like, you can't spray vaccines in the air. I mean, that's a violation of every person's individual sovereignty. You have a right to refuse medical treatment if you don't want it. I mean, it was because of Dr. Joseph Mengele that we have, what's the Nuremberg Code, right?
Right.
The Nuremberg Code says that, people can't force you to take medical intervention like that. And so we don't want it in the food. We don't want it in the water. We don't want it in the air. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I mean, it is crimes against humanity. I mean, if it's Nuremberg style. I mean, what they're saying is that this is mass inoculation without our consent. They're claiming the governments are using aircraft to disperse vaccines and over populations covertly. So we're not accepting this. This is happening. But what a lot of people have heard of chemtrails, and So that has always been, and that was always a conspiracy theory and denial. Even if you search for it, it fact checks it, right? That it's not a true claim. But
what search engine are you using?
Well, I mean, DuckDuckGo comes up. What's the best one? The Russian one?
A lot of them suck, but
they all suck.
It just bothers me that they fact check your search. I mean, it's like, who the hell do they think they are?
Well, to me, the fact check means that that's truth, and they don't want you to know it. So to me, it's
but it doesn't mean that to everyone. Some people think it's a real fact check.
Exactly. Well, the ones that are asleep under the spell.
Okay, so look, this is the thing. People have been complaining about chemtrails for a long, long time. And chemtrails are distinct from contrails, right? Because contrails, when the plane goes through the sky and it leaves sort of the vapor behind it. The difference with chemtrails is that this idea that there's something in some kind of chemical that you're looking at. And the things that people have pointed out are that the patterns are abnormal. That if you have an airport, if you live near an airport or, planes go by, there'll be contrails will go in one direction consistently, but when you see all this, these white streaks crisscrossing across the sky,
looks like a tic-tac-toe board,
right? And that's an obvious indication that that's unnatural.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they start thin, and then they expand out into clouds, and then in a few hours you have you've lost your clear sky. Now you have this man-made cloud cover.
Yeah. And so now people are still treating this as if it's conspiracy, but how many states? There's been a bunch of states that have already banned chemtrails. I think Tennessee was one of the first. I think Florida is up there. And so since we're in Texas, I took a look at this in Texas. What have you got there? Trump launches Chemtrails Task Force.
alongside RFK, and we have checked this out, and it is apparently happening. They're coming after the planes, the pilots, the scientists, and the shadowy overlords bankrolling these assaults on humanity. And like you said, this is comparable to Nuremberg 2.0, and especially if they're doing this think about those that weren't vaccinated. We can't escape it. That's what it seems. This is men playing God, right?
Yeah.
Evil men playing God, wanting to be God. And what do you think the reasons for these? They care about our health, Laura? Is that why?
Yeah.
They care about our health?
Sure. Yeah. That's what they care about.
It's for the greater good.
The thing that bothers me is how long they've been getting away with it.
Right.
And how there are still people all across this country that believe this is just a conspiracy and it's not really happening. So one of the things that I came across when I was, when we talked about this as a potential topic for today, I wanted to do it because I had recently heard about the state of Texas moving to ban chemtrails, but making exceptions for existing contracts. So that leads you to think, okay, well, what are those existing contracts? So if you go to, and anybody can do this, right? You can go to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and we can put that up there. This tells you all about the history of Texans using cloud seeding to lessen the impact of periodic, often severe droughts. And it goes back years, decades, actually. And there's, they even tell you, there's a list here of all the different contracts. Look, see, there's the South Texas Weather Modification Association, West Texas Weather Modification Association, Trans-Pecos Weather Modification Association, Rolling Plains Water Enhancement Project. I mean, these are, this is multiple projects. So they do both the cloud seeding, because, there's all kinds of reasons that people cite for the chemtrails. There's different kinds of weather modification. Some of it is to seed the clouds to create, rain. Some of it is like this groundwater conservation district. It does cloud seeding, but also operations to enhance rainfall and augment groundwater recharge over the aquifer, right? And so, what things like this confirm, Luke, is that it's not a conspiracy.
No.
It's a fact.
Right.
People have been maligned, probably censored, attacked, ostracized for talking about it. And you know what else that means? People in government, in local governments, like in the state of Texas, engineers and scientists and, all the kind of people that are involved in these industries, they all know.
Of course.
They all know the truth. And what burns me, and I'll be well-behaved here, and I won't say a bad word, even though I want to.
Tame your tongue, South African tongue of yours.
I know.
Gets naughty sometimes off camera.
I am happy to do it on camera. Just
we've got children watching.
Don't tempt me.
We got children watching.
No, what I will say is all of these people, they know. It's just like when we interviewed Ilanka Deaton on this show about child trafficking in the music industry, and she said all those people that knew, the photographers, the makeup artists, the off-duty policemen, the security guards, the people working in the hotel, where the events were staged, all of these people, the doctors and therapists that piece these kids or survivors back together. It's the same thing with the chemtrails.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the pilots, the pilots that
where are these pilots?
No, I'm just flying a plane.
They sign NDAs.
They know what they're doing.
And they get paid good money.
How evil. Yeah, they must be paid, but that's why money, the love of money is the root of all evil. You will do evil things for greed and money and power.
Okay, so
And let me tell you, the chemtrails, the claim they're used for weather modification, which a lot of people are like, I got attacked online recently because I was, posting some reports about potential weather modification with some of recent things that have happened.
Yeah, but you deserve that. Usually when you get attacked, you deserve
I
it.
just defended you yesterday, okay?
I'm kidding.
So there's
I'm kidding.
weather modification, there's climate engineering, military defense projects.
Blocking out the sun.
Blocking the
bioweapons programs.
because of
population.
Population control, mass sterilization.
Yeah.
Weaken our immune system. Mind control, potentially. I mean, so they have all these different
5G towers.
5G towers.
You know what they do though, Luke? This is the thing. Like, what can we actually prove?
Right.
We can actually prove, I'm sure the state of Texas is not the only one with this kind of documentation. We know that weather modification has been going on. I think they even admitted it. I think HARP, right?
Yeah. And cloud seeding is happening.
Yes.
Yes.
But what you're not going to be able to prove on the knowledge that we have available to us that they're using, the 5G towers and this and that.
And all that, right?
Now, it may be true.
Yeah.
However, what they do is they insert, bits of information that make you sound crazy or that are impossible to prove, and they use that to shut down the whole conversation.
Yeah.
And we're tired of those tactics. We don't do that on this show.
We don't, and we know that there's aluminum and lithium, and that's coming. Right? Barium. That's being. I mean, why do we all need these detoxes? Why?
How do we know? I mean, when you say we know,
well, how do we know, Keith?
Well, I've been a long time listener of Alex Jones, and he
that guy's a conspiracy guy.
He's been on
more
this
conspiracy theories for you. We love Alex on this show. We are diehard Alex Jones fans,
and so I was just trying to look it up, but I remember driving around Austin listening to this is 2006 maybe, and he had a guy on who was a Vietnam pilot in Vietnam who was they were doing weather modification. They've known how to drive storms, like manipulate storms.
Yeah.
They can't always create them, but they can make them worse. And at
they
least
can
this was in
create them.
this was in Vietnam. They could create. This is
yes.
So
how do you know that?
So this guy was a
Because
whistleblower.
they admitted it.
He was a no. So that was a firsthand account that I heard on the radio that some guy was speaking out.
Yes.
And that was 2006 or something.
Yeah. So what they do, they take something like that where you have people that speak up occasionally. You get little bits of information and or you get official confirmation, and then they muddy the waters.
Right.
It's a tactic in information warfare called ambiguity increasing. They throw all these things into the mix, right?
Right.
So now you're like, oh, I don't know kind of what to believe. And especially if they can throw something in there that sounds a little crazy or hard to believe, and then they can discredit the whole and shut down the whole conversation.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, going back to 2013, there were in Australia, they had vaccine dispersal claims. So they were saying that they've resurfaced since then, that said the Australian government approved the release of vaccines over Queensland using aircraft.
I mean, who
via
are these
chemtrails.
people? Seriously, who are these people?
And think about it. I mean, if it's connecting the dots. Now, if you're conspiracy theorists, we should be celebrated at this point because we are critical thinkers. We can not just accept.
Prophets.
Yeah.
We're prophets.
We're prophetic if you were speaking out back in 2020 and being canceled like we were or whatever. But it's that's the reality of it. These people are evil. They're playing God. I mean, this is all opinion, of course, from every man. And
okay, enough of chemtrails. You know what? Wait. Okay, Keith.
If you don't mind, I did just find this guy's name is Ben Livingston, and he was a Navy physicist and pilot.
Yes, I remember. I've seen those clips.
Yeah, and he advised apparently LBJ in the 60s that this was working. And
you wonder how many of the recent tragedies have been caused because people mess with the weather, right? I mean, the floods and this and that. Not to mention, okay, we're not going to go to the fires in
Hawaii.
No, we're not going there.
Okay,
but I have a good guess for that actually, if we can get him to come on. But
HARP?
you know, I'm throwing something in here that isn't on the schedule. I'm throwing in tariffs.
Weapons? Okay, tariffs. Okay,
yeah, I'm throwing in tariffs because I'm not sure. I think tariffs are part of a broader plan. You know what no one's talking about is that I can't remember the exact number, but trillions of dollars in long-term government bonds that are coming due, and that nobody has the government doesn't have the ability to pay them out. So one of the one of the things is when you look at the tariffs, it's really the easy button to be able to say that, oh, okay, now we're going to have inflation. Goods are going to go up. People are angry, so there's going to be more tariffs. We're not going to have more access to goods. But I want to say two things to people about tariffs. Number one, don't assume this isn't part of a broader strategy.
Right.
Because what the tariffs are going to do, if they, when the markets are down, and the tariffs are going to potentially, one impact that it can have is to push people away from the markets into government bonds, which will push down the yields. And so when those bonds become due, it's not going to be as much. So that helps to alleviate what is a very, very, very significant financial issue that's looming over us. Second thing is, with the tariffs, I just got to say to people, what's more important, that your new luxury car or the ability of the United States to make its own gunpowder and medicines? I mean, because that's what we're talking about. We literally do not manufacture gunpowder in this country anymore. And people, the Chinese, in this case, the CCP, they want to cut off your antibiotics, your dialysis treatment, I don't know, everything you need for construction, all the chemicals that you need for just about everything that happens around us. Gunpowder, it's insane.
Right.
It's insane what we have allowed to happen to us. And just like we were lied to about the chemtrails, we were lied to about globalization. And I know this because many years ago I went to the Midwest. I was on vacation, and my husband at the time, my wonderful first husband, his family came from there, and we had to go to Lake Okoboji in Iowa to sell his grandparents' home. And I saw entire towns across the Midwest. I saw what had happened, how middle America and the middle class and the working class had been decimated by globalization. And I thought I was in the twilight zone, because back in New York at 60 Minutes, where I was a correspondent, nobody had ever heard of that. There were whole towns that had just died out. There were massive double-story houses with the windows boarded up. I believe his family sold his grandmother's house for less than about $9,000, and that was like a 6, 7, 8 bedroom house. So this is a big deal. Taking back our sovereignty and reestablishing our we have an illusion of national security right now. Now, of course, there's other things, that you could argue that we have that would compensate, but this is going to be tough. It's going to require a little bit of pain. People have to be willing to suffer and speak up, and I'm done.
And you're done. That's it.
I did have something I want to say. I don't know if we can cut this.
Just say it.
Just say it.
So I'm a small L libertarian. I kind of lean towards free markets, not kind of, but I do believe like that's ultimately the best path is for governments to stay out of market manipulation, period. And I realize that it's easy for anyone to philosophize about what the best system is when we have real problems with the imbalance, with the trade imbalance, right? And so in my mind, I see what Trump is doing, and even though I don't believe tariffs are the ultimate answer, and I don't even think, maybe like you were saying, what's behind this? I think what could be behind this is that it's a negotiation point. Like it's bringing people to the negotiation table where there wasn't even a negotiation table before. Now they're like, okay, let's sit and talk. Let's talk. And that's really, really good. It's
leveling the playing field.
And it's leveling the playing field. So you can't really complain about that. You can obviously, but
you can. You're an idiot if you complain about that.
Yeah, and I'm not.
If you don't want the playing field to be leveled, you're nuts.
Yeah. So I think it's great that he's bringing people to the negotiation table.
Yes.
Because ultimately, in a perfect world, to be like what Milei and him just did, which is no tariffs on either side.
Right. They made a deal.
Yeah.
With President of Argentina.
The art of the deal.
Okay, Coffee. We're going to end every show with a little bit of Luke. So what you got for us this week?
Well, I'll show you. We're gonna. I call this the Tesla slide.
Wasn't there a J6 thing you wanted?
Well, we could
talk about before that.
Okay, we can.
We'll do them both. Let's do them both.
Okay. So yeah, Brandon Fellows. He's actually a really.
I know Brandon.
He's a funny
He's a good guy.
Have you met him in person?
I have.
Yeah, I'm excited to meet him. He's a funny guy. He's just. I've seen a lot of interviews with him.
And brave.
Very brave.
Yeah.
But so he was actually seated behind Fauci when he was testifying in Congress in this clip. So she sets it up well here, but essentially this Brandon Fellows went viral with his facial expressions as Fauci gave his tearful testimony in front of Congress.
Oh my God, the guy sitting behind Dr. Fauci in yesterday's congressional hearing is a J6er, and he just got out of prison from the J6 stuff like 2 weeks before this hearing. And then last night, Dr. Fauci went on CNN to talk about the whole thing. Watch.
Were you aware that sitting behind you today, we have him highlighted right now on the screen, but that person, that's Brandon Fellows. He's actually a January 6th defendant who was removed from the hearing later on. And as he was leaving, I don't know if you could hear him, but we heard him on camera shouting that he believed also that you belong in prison. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it, but it was brought to my attention before. And there was also someone behind me, I don't know if it was the same person, who was identified as someone who just got out of jail for being arrested for the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Now, what's somebody like that doing at a hearing about COVID?
So they'll show his facials here.
It was remarkable just to see who was in
So
that
he makes
room.
these funny faces.
My wife, my three daughters.
My three daughters?
Involved my wife and my three daughters.
So yeah, Brandon. Yeah,
Wait, look at his face.
How do you feel?
He's laughing.
Keep your mic on.
Terrible.
Crying.
Brandon
Terrible.
Fellows needs protection at all costs.
Okay.
Somebody needs to buy.
Was he doing it on purpose?
Yes, of course.
Like he knew that the cameras were on him?
I think he knew. He set himself behind.
I should have
there.
asked him when I saw him.
Well, I mean, that's what I heard that he knew. I mean, he purposely tried to get right behind him and was like making the pouty faces. And he was asked to leave, and he said, "You're the one that belongs in prison," or something like that. And he literally had just gotten out of prison a few days before for January 6th. So
I love how they don't think. Okay, I love how seriously they take themselves.
Right.
First of all, and I get why. I mean, he's making fun of Fauci, so I guess why there's no humor. But that CNN actually does a segment on it.
Oh no,
this just shows you how lost these people are, because and also this idea that ordinary citizens don't have a reason to be at a COVID hearing.
Right.
You locked us up.
Well, that's the reality. Yeah, exactly.
All of us.
Yes.
You locked us up. You took away our rights.
Exactly.
You prevented. I couldn't bury my father. I had to bury him on Zoom. You let people die in nursing homes.
Well, he's saying why there should not be a terrorist behind him sitting.
A terrorist. Brandon Fellows wasn't convicted of terrorism.
Neither was I. But for 4 years, I was a terrorist.
And even if he had been, he'd been pardoned.
Right. Exactly.
I just, I love that Brandon Fellows did that. And you know what why? Not just because Fauci deserved it, but because it speaks to the spirit.
Amen.
It speaks to the spirit of a bold, really unafraid American, somebody who knows no matter what they did to him, no matter all the lies that have been told about January 6th, all the intimidation from law enforcement and our political leaders on both sides of the aisle, Republicans as well, disgusting. And in spite of all of that, that guy had he had what it took.
Cojones, as you say.
Cojones, yes.
In Panama.
The going rogue spirit.
That's right.
That's the going rogue spirit. Yeah, he had it. And you know what? There's a lot of people in this country who haven't. These people haven't begun to find out.
That's right. And so the other thing about the left, there's a lot of stuff we can laugh at, and I don't think they laughed at themselves, but the bizarre behavior that is happening, and that's to close us. If you could go to the previous.
Well, you
clip.
say the left. I say the
what? The woke.
I don't know. The deluded. I hate the left, the right thing.
I know. I hate
the
it
left,
too.
the right, the left, the right.
Hey, I'm in the. Yeah, I don't. I hate politics in general, but I'm saying those that are under a spell. I don't know, a little spell.
The deluded.
Well, they self-identify as, to use their term.
Well, that's true. That's a good point, Keith. That's why he's the libertarian.
That's right. Well, they self-identify as the left, right?
Well, they do, but I do. Okay, this is gonna be a good one.
But I want to show you. Okay, so first off, This was this is how I am a fan of these kind of protests. Okay. And I'll show you why later. I'll show you why later. But this is what I call the Tesla slide. You'll see what they're doing. We can go ahead and play it. And then there's a remix that one of your...
So I posted this one.
You posted this one.
Yeah, because they're so stupid.
They're doing the, look.
I don't understand why they can't look in the mirror and see that it's not cool. It's not catchy. Cool. It's not, I mean, you're idiots.
So what was funny is one of your followers, if you can play the next one that looks like the same, should be
after I posted it. Is this what
right
someone
after
responded?
They posted it. Here. It goes to the beat, too.
That's perfect.
It's to the beat, too.
Okay, that's perfect.
Play it again, please.
Yeah, play it again.
It's only
I wish it was longer.
11 seconds.
I wish it was longer.
I did. I've looped it, I thought. But
it's brilliant. Who is the clever person who did that? Okay, no, watch the arm movements there, Luke.
Yeah,
watch the arm movements. Oh yeah, we don't want any.
Elon.
We don't want to be Elon, okay? I'm not. I mean, that is much better.
That goes better than that song. So yeah, in closing, so I
and just to be clear,
to be clear,
it goes better with the song because the tactics these protesters are using. I mean, you don't like the guy's politics, so you just go protest and burn down his businesses. They're going to learn.
Firebomb him. Yeah.
They're going to learn very soon that this sort of kind of eco-terrorism is not going to be rewarded and tolerated for very long. I saw a fabulous video. We can show it on next week's show where a guy was just dragging protesters out of. He was huge. Do you see that one?
Yes.
He was huge, just dragging the protesters out of the street. It's like
people were
so that people can drive.
We're
not doing this anymore. You know what I mean?
And now turned.
Yeah, you've moved from the time where you could say, okay, well, let somebody know they're using child slaves. And so we're going to do an awareness campaign and maybe you'll have better practices. Now we're at the part where, you know what? There's a great restaurant in Kerrville, just down the road from where we are right now.
In the hill
Carmine's.
country. Yeah.
In the Texas Hill Country, Carmine's.
Carmine's, okay.
Great Italian restaurant.
Haven't been there yet.
They're being attacked by these kind of tactics. Because why? Because they put up Trump flags and things supporting
tactics,
Trump.
I mean, right?
You're allowed to support Trump. You can support one candidate. I mean, if people, want to fly Biden flags or Kamala flags, if I don't want to eat there, I don't have to eat there. But that owner of that restaurant can put whatever they want up. This idea that you can terrorize and intimidate and attack people, use violence to savage them into submission so that you are the only person who's allowed to have an opinion.
They do call themselves a tolerant left, right? Aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Remember that?
Yeah, remember?
Someone needs a dictionary.
So, yeah, they do.
Let me spell that for you. Tolerance. Yeah. Okay. What's next?
Well, just in closing, so I thought they did. I would rate them, and I can rate them because my time as a struggling artist in California, in Los Angeles, city of fallen angels, I was a MC. And I dressed as a fool, as a clown. And I taught people the electric slide. That was part of my job. So you can go ahead and play this. This is from about 20 years
this
ago.
reminded you of, is this you?
Yes.
Oh.
Remember this?
I MC corporate events and I teach. Part of that is getting people involved in dancing. Magnums, we dance. You remember? I got my brothers here. They're going to help me out, show me what we do.
So you just rocked up in the gym and did this?
Yeah. I'm a strange guy, you know.
Was it set up?
No, I just recruited them.
When you got there, they didn't know?
No. So you got to add a little more. They need a little more, jive to it. A little funk.
Let's do it. Okay, do it here, Luke.
Nice.
We'll do that. We'll do that on the road. We'll do
Come
that
on,
on
do
the
it
road.
now.
We'll do that on the road.
Love it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's
that's just
fabulous.
saying they didn't have the
pizzazz
that maybe
and the enthusiasm that you wanted.
Enthusiasm that I would want if I was teaching them and directing them.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you had sort of a macho, sort of a manly take on the electric slide.
Well, there was some, I was an Elvis impersonator as a child.
I was going to say that was definitely very Elvis, that outfit.
There was some pelvic thrusting, and it was an Elvis jumpsuit. So I was taught as a young boy to to imitate Elvis by my mother.
Something's wrong with that. Okay, that entire sentence, that was very wrong. You sure you don't want to rephrase that?
Well, no, I was a big Elvis fan growing up. Lionel Richie and Elvis.
The other Elvis impersonator that I interviewed was Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars. As a child, too, right? I was an Elvis impersonator as a child. I really was. I did birthday parties but I lip synced them. I was a lip syncing star.
Okay, unlike Bruno wasn't.
Bruno's actually he was a real star. I was acting like a star.
Luke, can you sing though?
No, I can't. But I would love to. Keith, you have me beat.
You look like you could be a country
that you could be an Elvis. Take us out.
Little baby, take them north. No, I don't.
That's good. Do it. Come on.
Give us some Elvis.
Some Jailhouse Rock. Wouldn't do a party at the county jail. Prison band was there. They began to wail. John was jumping at it. John began to swing. You should have heard him knocked out jailbird singing, let's rock. Oh, baby, let's rock. Everybody at the Jailhouse Rock, which is ironic because that was my favorite song because I spent time in the jailhouse.
Ironic after you spent time in jail for January 6th. Okay, that's the end of this week's edition of Rogue Roundtable. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm getting better at this. Go to my website, laralogan.com, if you want to like or share or subscribe. And even better, if you want to keep us doing whatever this is.
Independent journalism and fun.
And support independent journalism. Please hit the blue give button and don't forget, tell somebody else to watch Going Rogue with Lara Logan and Luke Coffey.
Mainly
and
Laura.
Keith.
Mainly Laura. Mainly Laura. Thank you for watching, guys.